and welcome to the thru Recovery Life podcast. Today we have Miss Sasha, and she calls herself Sasha Pink Cloud, and she'll explain why. She'll be sharing her experience, strength, and hope with us, and tell us what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So without further ado, I give you Miss Sasha Pink Cloud. Go ahead, Sasha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha, and yes, I do classify myself as the pink cloud, but I didn't used to be honest. I used to be a person who was a very dark, very bitter person who just had this tone that would just snap at everybody. I didn't used to be the pink cloud until I actually came to AA and started to get to know myself, and then I started reaching out to everybody and I started giving everybody the pink cloud, and I also dyed my hair pink to become a big, huge part of that pink cloud. But here's the story that led me here. I just want to start by saying this is gonna be a lot, and I hope everybody can also handle it, but also I hope that my story will help others out there who have also been through what I have been through. Um, I did not get to know my brothers who died in a fire. They died. I did not get to know them because they died in a fire. And at that time, I was in my mother's stomach. She was pregnant with me. They died in 91, and I was born in 92. Later on in my adulthood, I found out that my dad had never signed my birth certificate because he had gotten upset because my mom went into labor on Father's Day, yet I wasn't ready to come out. So my father got tired of waiting and decided that he was going to leave my mom in the hospital. And while he left my mom in the hospital, he went out and got drunk and he did drugs. So when it came time for me to be born, apparently my father was tripping on acid. And when I was taken from my mom at 5, I was put into foster care because my mom and dad were both addicts, and my mom had gotten into some illegal things, and I was not happy being ripped out of my mom's arms. I did not like that, but yet I was kept I was kept on Adderall and other meds that made me feel like a zombie, and I did not like them, but I was adopted in 2005 to a family that was crazy hectic. There were 10 kids other than myself. My adopted mom ran an at-home daycare, and and the bio children had all kids. So I was mostly forgotten about, especially on my birthday. I was abused verbally and physically, but my adopted father also died of dementia recently, but he also raised me and he taught me growing up that I was always going to be a worthless piece of shit that would never amount to nothing. I also watched him kick my sister upside the stomach while she was bent over to pick up the dog papers. We all always had our heads smacked down on the table when we couldn't figure out the answers to our homework assignments. My best friend, whom I actually loved and planned on starting a relationship, he hung himself in 2008, which was 2 years before we were supposed to walk down the aisle and accept our diplomas for graduation. Because of how invisible I was, my mother had no idea how much I cared about this boy. Only my sister, whom I really did not get along with, knew this, and she used to sit next to me at the computer all summer as I chatted back and forth. My mom refused to let me go see my best friend during this time, and he was in the hospital brain dead and he was dying. And then she wouldn't let me go to his funeral even because she didn't believe I was that close to him. But lo and behold, I actually went to his funeral because the day of his funeral was the day that it started pretty much everything. But then I didn't know that it started anything at all at that time. Because the day my mom dropped me off at school, I decided that I was going to skip school for the first time ever. And I went to my best friend's funeral. And after that funeral, me and all the people that were there, my best friend's friends, we went and we started drinking. At that time, I was young, didn't really like the taste of alcohol, so I didn't think that it was going to be a problem then because I thought that it tasted gross, so it was all right that I wasn't going to like it. But no, that was not the question, or not the answer at all. My senior year, I met a guy who was 21, and I fell in love with him and I lost my virginity. And then due to an accident, I became pregnant my senior year in high school. Everyone thought I was going to drop out of high school, but I didn't. I graduated 7 months pregnant, but still achieved getting my diploma, being the only one out of my biological family that has my biological parents. Some of my family got a diploma, but not most of them, but my biological parents to receive a diploma because neither of my parents did. They never even finished high school. And me being the big trusting person that I did, there was issues that had underlying issues where me and the father of my child, we started arguing, we started fighting a lot. And given what I was in growing up and the livable situations I was in growing up, I knew that that wasn't okay for my son and that I did not want him to be in that situation. So we had agreed that we would give him to his parents, to the father of my son's parents, as temporary guardianship. Well, it wasn't until after I signed the papers that I found out that the father and I had signed our rights away. I had been tricked into signing adoption paperwork and now lost my son, whom we had formed a bond with, and it was broken. Because I was unable to see my son for quite some time after the adoption, and because I had a mouth, I used it to slander the father of my child. Not seeing my child led me to fall for a guy who was very bad news. He turned me into an addict. I began to smoke weed, and first that's all he did and sold. Then 3 years into our relationship, he began smoking meth and selling it. And one day, for me to get back at him, I decided I was going to make him mad. Decided to hit the pipe, and it was all downhill from there. I started seeing my son again for small visits at this time. But because of the chaos of it all and messing around, when I stopped visiting him, missed many holidays, birthdays, etc., I was abused physically and mentally and verbally by this kid for 3 years. And as we were together, I wanted to see my son, but I didn't want to see my son like this. So it all broke our heart. My son knows about my addiction, not due to my account. The grandparents told him, and now he treats me some type of way. Still to this day, I have been sober since February 10th, 2014 off of meth, and my son still treats me like I just abandoned him for most of his life. Even today, like yesterday, for instance, I drop him off after I picked him up, took him to the pool for 4 hours, let him play at a rec room, let him play video games, let him go swimming. When I drop him off, I am lucky to even have him come up, hug me, tell me goodbye, tell me he loves me. Most of the time, his grandparents have to remind him and tell him to give me love. Otherwise, he doesn't. He just completely acts like I'm just a bad person trying to win his love. And that's really not the case. I'm just trying to make up for the time that I've already lost with my kid. And it sucks. It sucks because he probably will never forgive me until he's an adult. But I will get there with him eventually through time. My mom died in 2014. My grandpa woke me up at 2 a.m. and he told me that my mom was dead. At that time, me and my uncle, we had shared a room. And so I looked at my grandpa, I said, "You're talking about his mom, right?" And my grandpa looked at me and he said, "No, your mom." And there was 2 people that had gotten hurt in this incident, and for hours and hours that day, we didn't have any information on who the second person was that was with my mom. And then the phone rings and they tell us that it was my brother. It was my brother that was with my mom. My mom had gotten brutally beaten to death to where her face was smushed in as if you would lay your head down on a pillow and it just presses in. And my brother had gotten brutally stabbed in his sleep to death, leaving a half of a Yoshi blade in his skull, like in the top of his skull. and being stabbed 28 times. Like, he was sleeping. He didn't even know what was going on. To be honest, he was coming down off meth. He was using my mom's place at this time as a place to sober up because he missed my mom's Mother's Day. So he was trying to make up time with my mom. And instead, they both lost their lives that night. And so since 2014, I have been suffering with this trauma of losing my mom. And during all of this trauma, at the same time, when I had reunited with my mom, was 3 months prior to this, because I was adopted. So I only had texts and phone calls, and I was literally the last person to talk to my brother, either the night he died or literally right before he died. So I was the first person that was accused in killing them. And that kind of sucked, but I had to prove that I was innocent, that I had no motive. And then right after that, during the memorial, my grandpa, he got diagnosed with cancer, and he literally had to be rushed from the memorial in Iowa all the way to Omaha in an ambulance. And during all this time, like before all of this, I was literally being like taken advantage of. My uncle was manipulating me. He was keeping me intoxicated. He was raping me. He was taking advantage of me like almost every night. So when my mom died, it had been going on like probably a year of him taking advantage of me. And even after she died, it was like a whole nother year. And then I broke free from that. And then I got into the relationship I'm with now. And there's been some hard times. There's been some bad times. And there's been some really good times. He's been through it with me, all of it, most of the way. He hasn't given up on me. He was there for me when I went to jail, because what caused me to get into AA was we were arguing because I had a trauma moment. And when I drink, I realized that my trauma hits me a lot more than it would if I was sober. And I started thinking about everything. And I literally have a lot of moments where I will literally grab the whole entire drawer of knives, and I will just try to attack myself, because I would rather be with my whole entire family that's in heaven than be here right now. And we were arguing, and he called the mother of his child to come get her daughter that night. And instead of calling us back, she called the cops, and the cops showed up. And I was intoxicated. So when I got arrested and went back to the jail site, I had ended up getting illegally searched again by male cops, and I had attacked the male officer. So I got an assault on a police officer. But at the same time, that is my fault because I attacked him. But at the same time, a male officer probably should not have been touching me very close to my no-no square, given the fact of what my uncle did to me. They're supposed to be specialized in trauma, but still, it is my responsibility. I acted out. I was intoxicated. I was in the wrong. And through this program, I will have 2 years on Christmas. 2 years. That's 2 full mooses. And if you guys don't know what a full moose is, it's a pretty cool thing. It's when a person reaches 12 months. One of our lovely group members made that up, and I still use it to this day. I will have 2 full mooses on Christmas. And to stay sober, I literally share my story. I'm super busy right now, to be honest, to go to meetings all of the time, because ever since I got sober, I got a very good job. 3 months ago, I got a very, very, very good job. I'm working with a painting business. I am technically the executive secretary assistant. So I basically help run the company right now. I do payroll. I do everything outside the systems, like on the computer. I go on the spot and I do estimates. So I'm pretty busy. So I share my story when I can. And at the same time, every week I go see my sponsor, who is also my trauma therapist. and I tell her about my week, and I tell her about what I'm doing, and just I use my tools and my resources. One thing you need to do if you always need help, you're gonna need help regardless. Just use your resources. Pick up that phone, call people. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Listen to people's stories. There's a lot of us out there that you never know what somebody's been through. So telling your story like I'm telling my story right now is going to help people. And that's it.
All right, fantastic, Miss Sasha. Very happy for you with the new job. You know, every job has been a step up. Very happy for you. How old is your son now?
12. And I cried like a baby at his 12th birthday party. I had a very big emotional mom moment.
Fantastic. All right, Miss Sasha, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you for being vulnerable. And, thank you for sharing your story
You
with
have
us.
to if you want to help people.
Absolutely. All right, you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.